No, but I'm looking at all the
All right,
comments.
what about now?
Is there sound now? Nice.
Hello.
Check mic 1, 2, 3. Making sure that there's sound. We're testing it out.
This is
Shut it down.
shut
No
it down.
sound.
No sound.
Still
Oh,
nothing.
it works
Oh
now.
wait.
Okay,
People are
we're good.
saying yes. It was working. All
All
right.
right.
We did it.
Yeah. Oh
That
boy.
was probably. We're here. One more time. Welcome back. Finally, it was probably someone messing with us or something happened on, but we finally have volume. Was there anything that you had to change, Jason, or
It
was it
didn't
just?
look like I had any change. I muted and then unmuted my two settings just on the thing. Remember last week, or not last week, but when we were with Dix, literally we couldn't get it going, and then you wanted to finish something up, and then your audio cut at the end of the broadcast. We had no idea what happened. We didn't change any settings, and we just cut the broadcast. So, folks, I don't know. I updated my Skype twice this week. I updated my XSplit broadcaster once. I'm hoping that everything's gravy train with biscuit wheels from now on.
There's like 100 comments coming in. No sound, no sound, no sound, no sound, no sound. So thank you for the comment section. We always appreciate that very much. But once again, welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Zurgadowski and Jason Burmis here for our live Sunday show. Today is October 10th, 2018, 7 p.m. Eastern, and we are going to be live for an hour to 2 hours. We don't know however long the conversation takes us, however long you guys have questions and comments for us, we will definitely answer. We're going to be live on Facebook, on Periscope. The podcast of this episode is available on iTunes later. And of course, predominantly, since we get monetized once in a blue moon, we are mainly on YouTube, youtube.com/WeAreChange, where we answer all of your super chats and engage in a full dialogue and conversation with you. Now, Jason, the technical difficulties definitely speak to a lot of the turbulent crap that independent media has been dealing with this entire week. I mean, it's been crazy, and we've been working our butts off trying to figure out a way around the big tech monopolies from, of course, censoring and silencing the voices of independent media.
Yeah, it's not an easy task. And
Wait, hold on. We got a very important comment. I got comments here saying Luke's nose did 9/11 again. That's a very
important.
popular thing in the comment section. Sorry, Jason. Continue
No,
on.
I'll probably get us taken off the Facebook platform right there. As we know, anything we put out about 9/11 seems to not get the traction it should, seems to be censored. Facebook alone, even though we have ad breaks, we're never able to monetize everything because every single video is manually reviewed. We've requested a Facebook watch page. We can't get a Facebook watch page. Doesn't matter. We have 500,000 likes. We're in Dan Dick's level without luckily being censored, Luke. That's all I can say. I feel blessed that we were not taken down in this purge. Rachel Blevins, who worked for you for some time, put up videos here, recently acquired a job at RT. Her page taken down. And again, the media spins it, fake accounts, spam accounts, Russian bots. Well, no, folks, it's people that challenge the mainstream narrative. And we've been fighting harder than ever to get this voice out to you guys because we never know when it's going to be taken away from these large social media platforms, do we, Luke?
Yeah, and that's why we've been busting our butt working on the newsletter, which, of course, I've been tweeting about and Facebooking about, using the platforms, being like, hey, guys, the ship has been sinking. We've been warning you that this ship has been sinking all the way back in 2008, 10 years ago. And it wasn't just Dan Dix and Rachel Blevins, but it was also Free Thought Project, Anti-Media, and about 800 other pages and accounts that were just totally eviscerated from their internet. All of their work, just like, nope, totally gone. There's one meme I posted. I don't know if you could pull it up, Jason, of not Milhouse, the Simpsons character. What's his name?
Come on,
the one that
man. You're killing me here. I'll give you his last name.
The one that
Wiggum.
fixes his nose.
His last name is Wiggum. What's his first name?
Wiggum. Yeah, what is his first name?
I know what his
Wiggum,
first name is. I'm a super fan.
On the back of his bus by himself, and the tag reads, all the memes I share from all the pages were just shut down, and he's sitting there, I'm in trouble. We're in trouble. That's not an understatement to say the least. But again, the problems that we are facing is indicative of the work that we are doing and the effect we are having. The free flow of information cannot be stopped. We're thinking about ways to go around it. And the main way we could think of right now is, of course, this email newsletter. And we're working on that, and we're revamping how we're going to be operating. And mainly, instead of just concentrating, there it is. Love that meme. Been sharing that as soon as I seen it. I shared it on all the pages. And it's really duplicitous, the reasons that they gave that they shut down all these pages, because they said that there were spam accounts, and sure, other pages were sharing other stuff with other people. The people who were actually taken down actually reached out to me 2 weeks ago, and they're like, hey, you want to work with us? We'll share pages. I just didn't have time because I'm working so hard to even get back to them. But it's the people who had the same admins on their page that were all taken down. And Facebook's reasoning is because of spam and because of politics for profit, which is absolute bullcrap. Since you see the clickbait bullcrap out there from BuzzFeed and CNN, that's okay. Indian dude selling you Ray-Ban glasses with them spamming everything, yeah, they're fine. But if you have a political message and you share messages with other people who resonate with your ideas and the basic ideas that most people resonate with, that's why it's becoming popular. No, we got to shut those down. It's getting too popular. People are thinking too much for themselves. Cut it out. That's it. You're totally gone and eviscerated.
Now, I like.
Oopsie there. What's that, Jason? What are you doing?
No, I had to move that thing. I remember I have all that set up. So to bring over the meme, I had to bring this over, and it just hit one of the other tabs, and things autoplay, and I'm just trying to hit the pause.
But absolutely ridiculous situation that we have to deal with. I mean, all the people who are taken down are hardworking people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into providing you alternative information that makes you question the status quo. That was pretty much the main overall thing that binded a lot of these people who were taken down, anti-establishment people who go against the grain. And Facebook did their bidding. And many people, obviously connect how the Atlantic Council, the Israeli government, the U.S. government pretty much have verbatim say on what goes on Facebook. They work together hand in hand, receive money, swap monies, and ultimately work together against the best interest of the people, because first they want to spy on you. Now they want to control what you can and cannot see. And the next level of that is even more dangerous. And that's why we have to be more vigilant than ever. Vote with our attention, vote with our clicks, but also support the alternatives, not only alternative platforms, but specifically this email list. I can't stress this enough. The email list that we have right now is the most important thing. We sent out 2 emails in 1 week. I think that's going to be the average of what we're going to be doing here. I don't want to spam people with too much things. But as soon as this thing happened, we sent out an email to everyone saying, 800 pages of the top alternative media from the left, from the right, from the anarchist perspective, all got taken down. And it's pretty daunting, Jason, to deal with this, to say the least.
It is, but you know what? I want to mention what didn't get taken down. CRTV didn't get taken down. And I'm going to be talking about the Proud Boys.
Occupy Democrats didn't get taken down.
What's that? No, not Occupy Democrats, CRTV, all the mainline conservative voices that you hear about that are now being censored. None of those guys got taken down. Really, the only conservative voice, other than, Diamond and Silk, who it was very apparent they censored outright. We know the shadow banning's there. But hey, Steven Crowder is still out there, brother. You know what I'm saying? And that's not saying I don't want those voices censored, but I want to point out the fact that they're not accused of spamming. They're able to work a business, people like Mark Levin. So this idea that the censorship is targeting quote-unquote conservative voices, and you're hearing that spin in tomorrow's news today, and the tip of the spear, the blah, blah. No, guys, let me tell you something right now. Dan Dix was not a conservative. He does not have conservative values. In fact, I'd say he leans a little more hippie like you, Luke.
Well, he is a staunch Christian. He believes in his religion.
That's
but
true.
Ultimately, we come from different backgrounds and different ideas, and we always share those ideas, and we always communicate honestly. And me and Dan do really great work. Sometimes we fight. You could see on my Instagram stories, me and Dix fight about the stupidest things. But when it comes to me and him, when we're at Bilderberg, we bust our ass because we know we have a mission. There's a bigger thing happening than just us. And we work very well together, confronting Bilderbergers as they're running around the streets, standing up for our rights, making sure that we can't be stopped as journalists. And many times, me and Dan, literally, we're in a jail cell together because the Bilderberg group and their security came up to us after we confronted a whole bunch of them. And they're like, that's it. Hand us over your video cameras. We're going to delete everything you said. InfoWars was actually there. They actually handed over their video cameras. They got everything deleted. And we're like, no, this is illegal. You cannot destroy my intellectual property that I just filmed. I did nothing wrong. I'm expressing myself, asking a simple question as a news reporter. And then they try to rough us up. I was able to be like, screw you guys, push them out of the way, jucked and jived them, ran out the door. I was out the door. I was fine. Bilderberg security grabbed Dan by his book bag, literally lifted him up. His legs are kicking. And I'm like, gosh darn it. All the other independent media ran. They're like, I'm not getting in trouble here. They're big, tough guys. And their security of the Bilderbergs ran away. All of them. All the top names of media ran away. I'm like, Dad, come on. I started grabbing Dan, started pulling him out the door, and like, let him go, and filming the whole thing. And I'm like, I can't leave Dan here. Police showed up, literally just ran up on us illegally, took our video cameras away. We had another backup camera. They took that away, had a hidden camera. They didn't know about that. And then they were like, you guys got drugs on you. I'm like, what? You didn't even search me. How do you know I have drugs on me? They're like, we don't care. Put us in jail. We were in jail together. This is the work that we do. This is the type of investigative journalism and the people who stand up for our rights that we need more than ever with our rights being eviscerated. And these are the targets that they're going after because it questions everything in their narrative. It questions their uncontrolled little grid that they want to have on society. And we come in there and we break it. And that's why we are the enemy that is there. So, yeah. Anything else you want to say on this specific topic before we go on, Jason?
You know, I would like to make the point that they also went after all the cop watch and all the cop block and all the filming the cop sites. So, you know, again, it's okay. And by the way, I'm for body cameras, Luke, because without body cameras, there would be one version of that event where a man was crawling down a hotel hallway, obviously intoxicated, begging for his life, and he got gunned down by a police officer. That man, he got convicted of murder. Now, I think it's a good thing when citizens arm themselves with cameras. So there is always a version of the story that's true no matter what. Okay.
Yeah, but now the pages who are cultivating and organizing all of that content, they're just gone. They're just totally deleted by Facebook because of profit for politics and quote spamming, which is an absolute ridiculous reason of why that's going on. We have some comments here and some super chats. We have some comments from some of our members. We have Nicholas Peter saying, I know the incident you speak of, Jason. Yeah, that was another crazy incident with the body camera footage coming down of that guy getting screamed at by the police. His pants were falling down, and the police were giving out orders that were contradicting themselves, and then they just shoot a guy in the hallway of a hotel, which was extremely disturbing to see. But we need to see that. We need to see what's really happening in our day and age to fix it. And Facebook is saying no. No, we're going to tell you what you should see and what you shouldn't see, and what our advertisers and government influences want you to know. Of course, hiding away. Again, this is how power acts. Power corrupts people. We got another comment in the chat room by Argyle, who is also one of our members. And he's asking, I'm encouraging everyone to read The Creature from Jekyll Island. Yes, that's a great book. That was by G. Edward Griffin, right, Jason?
That is correct. That is by G. Edward Griffin.
Yeah, G. Edward Griffin's a great guy. He was on our channel a number of times. I should actually hit him up and do another Skype interview because of all the financial stuff happening. There's also a lot of financial murmurs happening right now with people saying, oh, everything's going to go down. But of course, we've been hearing that for years. You never know when it could go down. And actually, it could go down in a week or it could go down in 5 years. But it's artificially inflated and it's bound to fall. The bubble that is artificially our economic system is inflated with just utter nonsense, lies, and crap. And soon, crap will hit the fan. It's only just a matter of time when that will happen, and that's something we've been warning about. So I definitely should get G. Edward Griffin back on. He's a great, brilliant mind that we have been collaborating with and working with for a very good time. You want to get to some of the super chats, Jason?
Yeah, I want to hit some of these super chats, and I want to thank Melanie Sieber for becoming a member. I've also seen Nicholas Peter, obviously a member, Argyle in there, Jesse Schmidt, all members. We'll be looking out for you.
Yeah, Ruth Esther just said that she has that book. Very good book. It's a big book, Creature from Jekyll Island. Definitely recommend it, especially if people are just waking up. Great book to sit down and really blow your mind away about how our economic financial system really runs.
Yeah, and you know, it's an origin story of the Federal Reserve banking system. And just recently, James Corbett did a video about how he himself did a video on the Federal Reserve, often citing that book, and it got delisted by YouTube without a copyright strike, without violence. And basically, he would show you how he would Google for this thing that I think had either 140,000 or 1.4 million views. It was one of his bigger viewed videos, and they were putting you in that network where they put Tim Pool and all these other David Rubin, and he's like, they're saying this is for profit, and he goes to his YouTube page. He goes, just so everybody knows, I've never monetized a video. In the article, they're referring to his Corbett Report video as talking about Jewish bankers. Corbett is the least anti-Semitic guy in the world. He deals in facts, and it happens to be that some Jewish people were part of the creature from Jekyll Island, aka the Federal Reserve, and the total spin was crazy, Luke. And these are the type of narratives, by the way, that will continue to be pushed and never be censored on platforms like Facebook and YouTube.
People are asking me in the comment section if I'm a Zionist. No, I'm not Zionist. I'm Polish. But the story that you just highlighted shows you, again, the importance of moving outside of their control grid and actually having a one-on-one communication with your audience. I'm sending off a comment into our comment section right now, which is the link that people could actually go right now and sign up on our email list. Not only are we doing a free email list, we're doing another premium one where we're going to be doing a lot of different stuff. I'm going to be doing Bitcoin trading advice. I'm going to be doing expatting advice. I'm going to be doing life hacking advice. And ultimately, the main general thesis of this new newsletter, which is going to restructure our entire business structure, is going to be living the change that you want to be in the world and moving away from all the crap that they throw at you and moving towards the solutions. Because again, you share the solutions, you share the knowledge that empowers people, they're going to shut you down and they're going to bleed you dry with demonetizations and their algorithm changes that will make you significant. The way to fight that is this email list. Once again, I'm sending it off in the comment section. Sign up for that. You could sign out anytime you want. We always have a feature in the emails we send out saying unsubscribe anytime you want. But it's a great way to get breaking news. And as soon as all the pages were taken down, as soon as we've seen that, we sent out an email blasting this story out to everyone. Because again, when moments like this happen, we all need to galvanize and be there for each other. Sorry, go ahead.
No, let's read some of these super chats, my man. So, Nicholas Peter, again, who is a member, also has thrown us quite a few super chats. He asked first, have you heard of Carbon 60 C60? I got to be honest, I have no idea what that is. Luke?
No idea.
Maybe I'll give it a Google afterwards, Nicholas. Happy Sunday, ballers. Get James Corbett and Truth Stream on again, mother trucker. I will become an email letter subscriber as well. I'm showing right here, this is The Minds of Men. This is Truth Stream Media's latest documentary, almost 4 hours long. Believe me, I've been hard at work trying to get them back on the program. And, we get Corbett every time we can, but the logistics, the man is in Japan. In order for Corbett...
I'm usually staying up until like 2 o'clock in the morning to do the Skype interviews that I do with him. I mean, I'm usually up that time anyway because I'm just working here nonstop. This whole week has been just so hard. I've been doing a lot of mental stuff, a lot of business stuff, a lot of financial stuff. This stuff is not easy, folks. And Truth Stream Media has been doing a lot of great work. I think they just released a video a couple of moments ago about transhumanism, which was fascinating to watch. I just watched their entire little video that they released. Yeah, definitely, Jason, you should get them back on about all the stuff that they're doing because they're just focusing pretty much on AI, on cell phones, and how people are becoming more robotic every single day, controlled by, of course, the special interest who control the technology and control the people. So definitely, Jason, if you can, put it in your notes. Let's try to get them back on and try to do a live stream or even an interview with them. I'm going to hit up James as soon as anything happens with China. China is always the big topic that James is usually a very good expert in. He is in Japan. He is following China very closely because obviously there are still a lot of tensions, not only historically, but also in the current day between Japan and mainland China. And a lot of people in Japan are very fearful of the outcomes of those things. So that's why James is an expert in that. Go on, Jason.
And we got one more super chat from Nicholas Peter. What are some books you two would highly recommend? And
I'm curious about this one. What's your favorite books, Jason?
I mean, honestly, as far as like fiction, I love fiction. The Fight Club, the book, is
Of course you
fantastic.
do.
Well, I'll get into the nonfiction books in a minute, my man. But as far as fiction, I think Fight Club and then Train Spotting, the book, is also incredible. The movie
Fight
is.
Club was a book?
Yeah, man, it's Chuck Palahniuk. He's done a bunch of books. He's an amazing author. In fact, if you've never read Fight Club, it's actually quite a short read. And the dialogue that David Fincher transitioned into video is verbatim in many of the sections and completely brilliant. I think earlier in the month, Palahniuk actually did an interview on the Rogan podcast. I'd never seen an extended interview with him. Very interesting, artsy, author-esque guy. Those are great books. Now, as far as books that are eye-opening in this genre, man, I've read a lot of them. But some of the ones that I would really recommend, Luke, are by Webster Tarpley. And
Really?
yeah,
Webster Tarpley seems like he lost his marbles.
obviously I haven't read anything Tarpley's put out in quite some time because I don't think he has put out anything.
Well, he's going against the whole Russian. I believe he believes the whole Russian Trump interference storyline, and he's going off about what FDR and how FDR is great.
He's always
and,
done that though. He's always been a
he's-
lefty guy, but he did take on Obama. And by the way, I've probably challenged Tarpley in person more than maybe any other human being because we've been able to develop a rapport where he kind of just looks at me like it's a young guy who means well, and I kind of look at him as a brilliant guy that's smart and means well, but is misguided in some respects. And none of us are perfect, but 9/11 Synthetic Terror is absolutely a fascinating read. It is fantastic. It is fact-based. It's really, really good. And that's a book like this thick. Mark Dice, even though obviously he's gone full right-winger, his book Big Brother, I've done covers for his books, I think his last 5 or 6. So all those covers are by me. But I really enjoyed that one as well. So what do you like, Luke? What's some easy reading from Luke Radowski?
Very interesting reading list you have there. Definitely jumbled on a lot of different stuff. I always saw Tarpley as this like disgruntled man, and he's always grumpy against me. He called me like a Rand Paul agent, and I'm like, dude, I confronted Rand Paul when he flip-flopped and supported Mitt Romney right after the Bilderberg group and not his father, who was still running. There was a big video. A lot of the Rand Paul people hate me. He was like, nope, you're just the Rand Paul agent. He's always very grumpy, and whenever people are grumpy and just mad for no reason, I like to pick at them.
See, you know what I don't do? I don't do that. I feel like you catch more flies with honey because I'll tell you what.
No. To me, it is honey because maybe I could convince him how stupid and ridiculous it's being, but just by pushing us to this craziest limit that I could find about how ridiculous it is. That's kind of my mantra and my kind of.
Go to Walmart, you get
now, if someone's being stupid and ridiculous, let's make
Luke.
it really stupid and ridiculous so you can actually see how ridiculous you are over something so stupid. Again,
that's not
we
how
have
you do it.
We have a different approach towards this, but I do it in a funny kind of ball busting way.
Oh, you think he's got a sense of humor? This is
Not
Webster
really.
Tarpley.
I was trying on him. I was trying to get him a sense of humor, but it doesn't really work. But I've been reading a lot of different books. I like nonfiction. I've been reading so many different books in the whole realm of self-help. One of the ones that I'm reading right now is Flow by Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. That's actually like I'm gonna put his name into. I'm horrible at pronouncing names. It's not just Kabim Makhmakhneganegov. It's also just other confusing names that I have a problem with. And he wrote a great book called Flow, which is pretty much a psychological, scientific look at happiness, which has been really fascinating to look into. And I've been speed reading that book now, and I'm looking forward to new books that I'm going to be reading. But definitely recommend the book that I'm reading right now, Flow, by the guy that I just typed in the name into the comment section. We got Nicole Peter, who is also one of our members, sending us a message into the main chat room saying that James has refused to take a single cent from YouTube and Google. What are your thoughts on trying to get funds strictly from crypto like Bitcoin Cash? Well, Nicholas, Corbett is mainly in Japan. Japan is more crypto friendly. The crypto market here is also very confusing, especially with the tax responsibilities. And it's very difficult moving money with the regulations that are still kind of not figured out. It's still a confusing landscape. And once those landscapes are more easily accessible for people living in the United States, we're definitely going to take more advantage of that. And I think it's great that he doesn't take money from Google and YouTube. I think that's very commendable of him, and he's getting screwed still just as much as everyone else. It's not easy running an independent media operation, mainly because the funds here are very limited. They're very small. We've been operating at a loss for a very long time. Last year we did a lot better, but we really have to lace up our boots and work even harder. And it's hard being like, hey guys, donate, donate, donate. We don't just want to make that the majority of the channel. We're
Uh-oh, it looks like we've frozen up, so hopefully we'll be back with Luke in just a moment. I'm not sure if he realizes he's frozen up yet, but obviously we don't have anything from Luke, but we'll be back there. But on that note, we don't want to make this a donation channel, and obviously...
algorithm.
Oh, you there? You just froze up for about a good 30 seconds, brother, and you froze up again.
Well, the camera just turned on.
Okay.
Still should be here.
Yep, no, you're back. You're back.
Yep.
And you're gone. And he's gone.
Well, go through the super chats, and it should figure itself out.
Yeah, it looks like it might just be a stutter in there. Let's see. Mark Passio, Mike Maloney on your program. That's also Nicholas Preeter. I don't know who they are. I'll give them a Google.
Well, I interviewed Mike Passio before, so just look up WeAreChange and Mike Passio. And I think I talked to Mike Maloney before. I'm not sure. I can't remember. We interview pretty much everyone in the field.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with those guys. This one's right up my alley. Jesse Schmidt, thank you so much. Very generous. He's a huge supporter. He's got to go, but he says, caught a little bit of the show and to have to go. Just wanted to get my UFC trolling bit in for the week. You guys get the chance to see the Americans champion Chael Sonnen deliver his vicious headbutts to Fedor's hands. Genius tactic and still undefeated. That was actually a Bellator event, Jesse, and since I am such a MMA aficionado, I will not let that go. I actually really enjoyed the card. I did watch it last night. I thought Chael actually fared better than I thought he was going to after he got clipped with that right-left combo. I thought it was over. He was able to take him down a couple times, even got his back. When he tried to flip him and drag him over, that was his fatal mistake. That's what ended the fight. Fedor just rained it down on him. And now I am very much looking forward to the Last Emperor, Fedor Emelianenko versus Ryan Bader, and what could be a huge upset and see a 40-plus-year-old Fedor get a heavyweight championship belt, even if it is in Bellator. That's still extremely impressive. So I loved it, Jesse, and I love the super chats, brother. Luke, did you watch the fight?
It's good to see Fedor come back. I'm a fan of both fighters, Fedor and Sonnen, and everyone I like, Sonnen, McGregor, that guy that fought the milk dud, Stepe, all of them always lose. I'm so sick of Khabib and the milk dud, Cormier. And for the next fights, I hope Cormier loses to Lewis, and I hope John Jones beats over, what is it, Stufferson? Who is he fighting again?
Alexander Gustafsson or Gustafsson. Depending on how you want to say it.
I like both fighters. I like Gustafsson and I like John Jones. They're both good fighters, but I'm hoping John Jones wins that one too. Those are my predictions, and probably they will be completely wrong, like they have been throughout all of my predictions in the MMA world that I've been talking about.
If Derek Lewis beats friggin' Daniel Cormier, that's a huge upset. I mean,
I know.
I'd be shocked. Hey, I'd love to see that too. I don't think it's going to happen.
That's why I'm rooting for Lewis. I want Lewis to win, and I want the milk dud to lose. But the milk dud's going to win again, just like he did over Stepe.
He's the man.
And then I hope John Jones comes in and beats him up like he always does.
All right, let's get to these last super chats, and then let's start the news. We've actually been ranting and raving now for a good 30 minutes here. Samantha Brown, thank you for the $3.99. Every little bit is helpful. And Michael Holiday says, "Chick sec me high." I have no idea what that means, but I appreciate the $3.50, my man. Luke,
wait, say that again.
Say that again. Chick sec me high. I'm sure it's probably something sexual if I say it too quickly. Of troll. But you got me, son of a gun, you whippersnapper.
I'm happy I didn't read that one. It's probably something really, really bad. neither Mantonese or Cantonese. All right, moving forward with the actual news, we're going to go over through all the stories Monday through Sunday. Let's start the first story that I wanted to talk about with this clip, Jason.
Yep, let's do it. And this is the Trumpster, baby.
Now, I like Saudi Arabia. Many friends from Saudi Arabia, they buy my condos. Oh, bing. I love them. No problem. I love them. They're fine.
He loves them.
And that's a very stark compromise to what Donald Trump campaigned on, which, of course, was calling out Saudi Arabia for their involvement of 9/11 and being the biggest financer of terrorism all around the world. That is a complete opposite view that Donald Trump has adopted ever since he became president of the United States. And this new adaptation is definitely being tested more than ever, with diplomatic relations at an all-time low, with a huge international controversy brewing around a journalist that looks like very clearly Saudi Arabia dismembered, assassinated, and took out of their embassy in Turkey in boxes. That's one of the possible scenarios that a lot of people are believing to be true for many reasons. But in this specific topic, we're going to get into the petrodollar, the U.S. oil markets correlating with Saudi Arabia. We're going to talk about how the Saudi empire is on the verge of collapse, and also how it's not only Trump, but Barack Obama and the mainstream media that allowed this brutal regime to be as prominent as they are, allowing them to get away with horrible atrocities. Now, if you haven't heard this story, it's pretty much been one of the major segments that the mainstream media has actually been talking about, mainly because it's one of their own, a mainstream media journalist, a very popular one, who went missing in the Saudi embassy inside of Turkey. Now, this man was very close to, of course, Saudi officials, once being a top advisor to them. He then became a critic of Saudi Arabia, also then closely became tied to the Turkish government and Erdogan. And this man, story is that he wanted a divorce from a wife that he had in Saudi Arabia to marry a new wife that he had in Turkey. And in order to do that, he needed to fill out some documents in the Saudi embassy. The story gets very interesting because he set up his appointment. The Saudi embassy called him back, told him to come back in 4 days. There's video footage and photos being provided by the Turkish authorities showing how Saudi diplomatic planes flew in, pictures of the individuals that came in. And this man, when he entered the Saudi embassy, never came out. There's actual surveillance footage that the Turkish government is releasing showing this journalist coming in, but he wasn't coming out. There's also a big debate stirring around the Apple iWatch that he reportedly had, and people trying to find out what happened to this man, since him and his wife were warning people that if he does not come back from the Saudi embassy, that they killed him. This man actually knew he was facing death, and I don't know what to say, but the story looks very clear that it was Saudi Arabia that dismembered him and killed him. This is what the Turkish authorities believe. This is what the mainstream media believes. This is what the story that's being pushed on us. And many people say that this is maybe even a bigger story, with this man even being potentially a CIA official. He has even closely followed and interviewed Osama bin Laden in the 1980s, and he was a very prominent journalist. And now this has become a big international scandal. Saudi Arabia is saying, yeah, he came in, but he quickly came out, even though there's no footage of him coming out, and saying that it's a big conspiracy theory. They're actually on the world stage saying, no, it's a conspiracy theory that we killed this man that we wanted to harm because he was critical of our regime. And now the situation has escalated to such a level where Saudi Arabia is allegedly threatening the United States and Donald Trump over this controversy, and threatening to have better relations with Russia, install Russian bases, take oil to $200, kill the petrodollar, stop buying U.S. weapons. And a lot of people are saying that this could rock oil markets and also threaten the global economic structure that is currently in place. And of course, a lot of this rides on the current relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States, which once again has been actually established by Henry Kissinger, who was the man who worked out this bigger petrodollar deal that now has the U.S. dollar dominance all around the entire world. But the economic fear mongering that we're seeing has already been somewhat met with stock markets plunging over the fears of sanctions in Saudi Arabia. There's a Saudi summit that was now in crisis, with many people threatening to withdraw from their summit. People online are calling for a boycott of Saudi Arabia. And even the United Kingdom is drawing up a list of potential sanctions on targets of Saudi Arabia for this missing journalist. We saw Richard Branson halt a $1 billion project with them. We're seeing people questioning the WWE's involvement with Saudi Arabia. They're also potentially even pulling out from holding their events there. Rand Paul has been one of the biggest critics of Saudi Arabia, saying that he actually wants to cut military aid and cut the missile sales to Saudi Arabia over this journalist unless he is found alive. And looking at all the details, he is definitely not going to be found alive. And props has to be given to people like Richard Branson, to people like Rand Paul, for standing up against Saudi Arabia, because once again, over this entire diplomatic crisis, the power of Saudi Arabia has only been understood not only through their threats, but also through their involvements economically, not only in the United States, but also in the mainstream media and even social media. But Donald Trump, as president of the United States, when asked what he would do about this, he specifically said, well, he's a little bit wary of it. He doesn't like hearing that this thing happens, but he has officially now announced that he won't stop arms deal to Saudi Arabia over this missing journalist. And you would think that would be the common sense thing to do. No. There's also even allegedly intelligence intercepted cables from the United States that allegedly discuss Saudi officials' plan to capture this journalist and to disappear him. We're still finding out if those intelligence cables are legit, but that is also something that we are hearing in the mainstream media. But what is really fascinating is Donald Trump made a statement saying, we can't stop selling arms to Saudi Arabia. That's going to hurt us financially. Ultimately saying what Wolf Blitzer of CNN is saying. You know, when Donald Trump and Wolf Blitzer are on the same page, repeating the same talking points, you know that this is an issue that we need to pay attention to. That's extremely daunting. It's extremely terrifying, and it shows you really the true layers of control that the military-industrial complex has, to where there's a horrific international crisis, and then at the same time, Wolf Blitzer and Donald Trump, CNN, and the U.S. president are saying the same exact thing with the same talking points. We'll lose jobs. We still have to look at the rationale here. Saudi Arabia, horrible despotic regime, creating the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now in Yemen. Yeah, but we need money. That's literally what they're saying. Violating human rights, violating the human sanctity and dignity of life. Yeah, but we make money. And that is something that people should not stand for and should call out, not only CNN, but especially Donald Trump for this. We saw even Donald Trump Jr. tweet that this journalist was linked with Al-Qaeda and with Osama bin Laden. So Donald Trump Jr., which I believe this was a very kind of distasteful tweet trying to put pressure off of this big diplomatic situation, is falsely claiming that this guy is Al-Qaeda. And now this journalist that is missing, yes, does have ties to Osama bin Laden because he interviewed him in the 1980s. And when he was close to the Saudi Empire, was calling out Osama bin Laden for trying to wage a global jihad. But at that time, you also have to understand, Osama bin Laden was on the payroll of the United States. The Mujahideen, which Osama bin Laden was organizing against the Russians, was supported financially and with arms by the United States. This is all just history repeating themself. Zbigniew Brzezinski, Jimmy Carter, covertly with the intelligence communities, armed and funded Osama bin Laden, especially in the late 1970s, early 1980s. And this guy interviewed him then. So it makes sense that, yes, there was a connection, but to call him an Al-Qaeda guy when it doesn't actually make sense. And the tweet was kind of distasteful. And this situation definitely needs more attention to it. And Donald Trump, again, talking about his money, we have to ask ourselves here, does this really matter like to this country? If we look at the bigger overall relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States, We know that this is a relationship that is shooting ourselves in the foot. We know that even Hillary Clinton knew that Saudi Arabia with the United States were funding ISIS. Saudi Arabia was the major component of that. They were the major exporter of Wahhabism. That's why when we're seeing mosques, schools being set up in the Western world, a lot of them are Wahhabist mosques financed by Saudi Arabia. Wahhabism pushing, of course, radical Islamic terrorism, and that's why we're seeing this growth of domestic terrorism that Saudi Arabia is completely in line with. If you look at what's happening in Yemen, for freak's sakes, the United States with Saudi Arabia is fighting alongside Al-Qaeda. Saudi Arabia is the one that's tied to Al-Qaeda, Donald Trump Jr., not a journalist that you're trying to make sure is disgraced in what looks like his death. Even WikiLeaks came out with the emails showing that Hillary Clinton knew that Saudi Arabia was financing ISIS inside of Syria just a few years ago. Julian Assange of WikiLeaks even said ISIS and the Clinton Foundation, they're both funded by Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And it wasn't just Donald Trump who's allowing this to happen. A big part of this is not only just Hillary Clinton, but also Barack Obama and his intelligence community that provided the Saudi regime not only with weapons and bombs, but with intelligence on both domestic and opposition targets in Yemen, and also enormous amounts of intelligence about domestic dissidents and radicals that were inside of Saudi Arabia. So the United States under Barack Obama with the NSA, with their bulk data collection program, were giving Saudi Arabia intelligence about people who were against the Saudi empire inside of Saudi Arabia. And of course, this leads to a new generation of a dictatorship with the support of the United States, and is horrendous to where in the country right now, women who simply protest are being executed, who are going to have their heads chopped off by the Saudi regime. If you're a peaceful protester, just raising your voice in Saudi Arabia, if you're a gay person in Saudi Arabia, you will be murdered and beheaded. And right before a major beheading of a female activist, Facebook complied with Saudi Arabia, with Israel, with the United States, and deleted a whole bunch of pages that were critical of Saudi Arabia. So just even 2 weeks ago, Facebook had an entire purge of mainly groups who were dedicated and pages who were mainly dedicated against Saudi Arabia right as they're making this move. Let's not also forget the Saudi Empire and the Saudi princes also have a huge involvement and a huge investment in Twitter and a lot of social media, and also the U.S. government. Now, it is interesting to see a lot of media report on this specific story. Some people are theorizing that this journalist could have been possibly a CIA agent. That's why there's such a big, robust coverage of this. But the truth of the matter is, if you look at Saudi Arabia, this is an issue that needs attention because they are an out-of-control empire that is spreading Wahhabism, violating human rights, not only for this journalist, but also for Rafi Badawi and all other individuals who were peaceful individuals and just want reform inside of Saudi Arabia and want to publicly express themselves and disagree with the tough totalitarian state that is Saudi Arabia. And will this bring down Saudi Arabia in the short term because of this close relationship with the petrodollar? No, I don't see Donald Trump making any significant moves, like I didn't see Barack Obama making any significant moves, even though Donald Trump promised he was going to do that. But the pressure there, I believe, is a good thing and needs to be made aware to hopefully back off this relationship just a little bit, because it is extremely detrimental, not only to the world, not only to the spread of global jihadism, but to the United States more specifically. And the Saudi kingdom is a kingdom that we have to understand will collapse. This empire is all, again, mainly standing on oil reserves that won't last forever, and many experts say are running out. They have no natural resources. They have to import fresh drinking water. They have to import food. They have to import all of their basic resources to survive as an empire based on where they're located strategically in the world. And if you look at the price of oil and if you look at the big oil market, many people are saying that Saudi Arabia will soon just utterly, totally collapse. So will the empire collapse because of this thing? No. The relationships will be hindered. Will they eventually collapse? Yes. And many people are making predictions that this is not actually even far away and the empire won't be able to sustain themselves. And we have to be careful here because when an empire is in decline, the empire becomes more erratic and more extreme. And that's why we're seeing Saudi Arabia threaten the United States with, of course, the petrodollar and, of course, global economic repercussions for even going against them. So this is an issue that, of course, we are going to be following very, very closely. But I hope we somehow laid out the situation with a better understanding of what's happening here. That is critically important in this time because a lot of it weighs on this relationship, which, again, is going to be wavered, but is not going to end. But eventually we'll have to. And when that happens, expect something very erratic and very extreme from the Saudi empire, who does not want to collapse. But they eventually will in one way or another. That's my take on it. What about yours, Jason?
Well, whether or not they collapse, I'm not quite sure. What does really interest me about this case is the fact that the media is covering it so hard. And like you said, it's very admirable of people like Richard Branson to come forward and say, hey, I'm going to stop doing business with these guys. And we know that there's still that 9/11 lawsuit out there that's kind of been swept under the rug, but as of March was still on. And of course, headed up by people like the Podesta Group with Tony
Yeah. This
Podesta.
is important. This is important to understand. Just to reiterate your point, it is the Podesta Group connected to Hillary Clinton's campaign main manager, John Podesta, that are protecting Saudi Arabia from being sued by 9/11 victims' family members. Because, again, a lot of information came out with the Saudi involvement with the unreleased 28 pages of the 9/11 hijackers. Really important information swept underneath the rug. And it's Podesta that is ultimately helping them. One more point, Jason, sorry to cut you off. That's very important here because there is a lot of mainstream media coverage of this. A lot of people are saying mainly because he was a big-time journalist. A lot of people are saying he was maybe even potentially CIA. But it is interesting and something to note that the mainstream media, even MSNBC, before this topic, wasn't talking about Saudi Arabia at all. They mentioned Saudi Arabia and Yemen once in an entire year when they brought up Stormy Daniels hundreds of times. But now it seems like there is a lot of attention. There is a lot of pushback. I'm happy to see it, but we also should question where it's coming from.
Well, there's a lot of pushback on that, and that's what's really bothering me about this story, because just today it was in the news, and you really have to search for it, that the FBI is currently underway declassifying documents in this 9/11 Saudi suit. And that's a big, big story, and you're not hearing it in the mainstream, but you're also not hearing it in the alternative media. And of course, we are not for censorship. We don't want journalists to be silenced and honestly tortured and die. Now, I want to clarify another point because I don't think everybody understands what you were talking about with the Apple Watch. For those that don't know what this controversy about the Apple Watch is that supposedly Khashoggi knew he was going to be killed as he was being interrogated, so he then turned on his iCloud through his Apple Watch and recorded his own torture and murder, which was then uploaded to the cloud. And there are some stories out there claiming that the United States government, our intelligence agencies, indeed do have that audio and know for sure that he was tortured and killed there. And like you said before, the propaganda...
But that hasn't been verified, Jason, just to be clear.
No, it hasn't.
That's rumor. That's rumors that are out there, but it hasn't been verified.
And again, I'm not saying this is true, just like I'm not saying it's true all the things that have come out this week. For instance, there were stories out there that, again, Saudi Arabia was claiming that this guy was still alive and they didn't have him. Of course, that's contradicted by all the video evidence that we've seen. Now, Luke...
And the guy missing and the guy not being found anywhere, with Saudi Arabia just saying, yeah, he just walked out. It's a big conspiracy theory. Well, like all the evidence is pretty much laid out here. And this, again, just shows you what a brutal empire is and how it's able to overstep its balance, mainly because of the cozy relationship that Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and now Donald Trump are giving them ultimate leeway to do whatever they want. And of course, they're committing more horrible, atrocious things, spreading global jihad all over the world, and could lead to an economic panic with, of course, a very sensitive relationship with the U.S. petrodollar. Now, it's the petrodollar that's really protecting them, and that's why I do not see this totally cutting them off, but eventually it will, and it's going to be major ramifications, not just for Saudi Arabia, but also for the United States, which, of course, their resource collapse, which will happen in a few years, guaranteed.
Well, I don't know. The resource collapse, I think that there's a lot more to it than that, Luke. I really doubt that they're just going to collapse because of the petrodollar.
Well, the Saudi empire is actually panicking, and they're trying to revert new business models to survive themselves that are not just oil dependent. They're even talking about tourism. But after these stories and all the other horrible stories, I doubt anybody wants to be a tourist in Saudi Arabia.
Well, I don't think that it was the tourism hotspot in the first place, right? I think we can
Well, they
both.
want to rebuild it as that now, and they're spending billions of dollars trying to rebrand Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, as a big tourist attraction.
Yeah, well, I don't think that anybody. I don't think they're ever going to be able to do that in the way, the fashion that they would need to supplement the kind of money they're making in the oil market. In the same regard,
Exactly. That's why all the lines are saying they're collapsing. They're
I,
very easily
you
collapsing.
know what? I'll believe it when I see it because it's that dynasty in the Middle East that has worked with the United States in 90+% of the cases to oppress the rest of the Middle East. And of course, you look at Yemen, you look at Iraq, you look at the propaganda against Iran. Who's our ally every single time? Of course, it's Saudi Arabia. In fact, the only time that we did have attacks that we blamed on 19 people, Luke, 17 of those people happened to be from Saudi Arabia. So the paradox is great. I don't think that their power structure is under siege as much as you do. However, it's a very repressive and old school regime. They have not moved forward with the times. And at some point, society is going to say, you can't treat women that way. You can't, like you were showing, you can't just behead people for having a difference of opinion. And you know what? I'd love to be wrong, and I'd love to have this issue not be about something else and be the spark that lights the fire that stops us doing everything we can for such an oppressive and grotesque nation.
Well, the main smart thing to do is to become energy independent and move away from Saudi Arabia and not back up their dictatorship and not cause the worst humanitarian crisis in the entire world right now in Yemen, and stop them and hold them accountable for supporting global jihadism all over the entire world. That would be the common sense thing to do, but something Donald Trump promised he was going to do. And of course, he suckled down, bent over, and got fed all his talking points and lines that him and Wolf Blitzer are regurgitating right now on the world stage. It's shocking. Wolf Blitzer and Donald Trump are saying the same thing. We can't stop giving them weapons and arms to this horrible totalitarian regime that has no respect for human rights, that is killing and murdering and butchering anyone who disagrees with them or gays or anything that they don't like or anything that dare questions their sensitive control that they have over their population. We can't stop selling them weapons because we'll lose a little bit of money. Holy cow. Like, absolutely ridiculous. We got a super chat by Avitas to lighten the mood a little bit. Thank you, Avitas, and long-time super chatter. Appreciate you very much. And he is saying, is it a coincidence that this happens the same week the Aladdin trailer comes out? Question mark. Truly diabolical. Jason, your hot take on the Aladdin
I have
trailer.
not seen the trailer. I would say that this is actually a coincidence, since at any moment there is massive turmoil in the Middle East. And despite the word on the street, Luke, I'm not some kind of a crazy conspiracy theorist that's like, Aladdin trailer? Saudi Arabia? You're on to something. You are on to something. Although
It was in The
Avitas-
Simpsons.
What's
it was
that?
in The Simpsons.
Oh, I know. Listen, somebody came up to me. I forget what you were talking about, but all they could talk about was how they wanted to do a documentary on The Simpsons and how they predict the future. And I'm like, listen, I've watched every season except for the last two. I'm currently going through the last two just because the last couple of years have been a lot with the kids and everything. I can assure you, the foresight the Simpsons had is nothing. There's nothing conspiratorial about it. I know the New York 9/11 thing is very bizarre, and the Trump thing is very bizarre on the escalator. But that could just be the law of attraction, the singularity, the embedded programming in the simulation that we're living in under an Elon Musk type tyranny. Who knows? But
There are a couple things that like make you think like, oh wow, yeah, there are a lot of coincidences on The Simpsons, but again, that goes into the whole conspiratorial realm. And here, what we're best at is documenting everything. That's why we had all the sources, all the articles, showing you, going along, telling you why I believe the certain things we do. It's interesting to entertain, but let's focus in on things that we could actually show and the information that people should know. That's my take on it.
that's 100% my take as well. All that stuff is really interesting and stuff that's fun to look at, Luke. But I'm more interested in what's going to come out in these declassified FBI documents that absolutely nobody in the mainstream or alternative media is talking about except for you and me right now. I'm very interested.
I think it's the Trump administration and the U.S. intelligence agency just kind of having it as a card, saying that, hey, Saudi Arabia, we got this card too. We could use against you on the world stage. Don't make us use it. But I think the world stage already knows Saudi Arabia is the number one financer of terrorism. It's not Iran. It is Saudi Arabia. Like, makes common sense. So it's going to be interesting. And again, the big component to this, I think the reason we're seeing such turbulent changes in Saudi Arabia, whether it was the purge that happened recently with the help of Donald Trump Jr., who also has a very close ties to Saudi Arabia, and Jared Kushner, and this recent killing, you see how insecure an empire is with anyone who is critical of them that they have to go kill and assassinate. This usually shows how not only horrible they are, but also how sensitive they are and how vulnerable they are. So again, to me, the big resource clash that Saudi Arabia has to deal with is the main picture here that everyone should focus on, everyone should look at, because their crash will be felt and reverberated, and their outrages already are, but way on a completely bigger level. If you want to say anything about that, go on, or you could bring up Monday's story that we should talk about because Walking Dead starts in an hour, and I kind of want to see that.
Well, you didn't want to go over that Jordan Peterson video that you had as well?
Well, Jordan Peterson was just talking about one of the many
I
atrocities
see.
and one of the many people who were unjustly persecuted by the Saudi Empire. It's an interesting clip. I'm actually going to copy it and send it in the chat room for people to watch later. Jordan Peterson very eloquently talked about Rafi Badawi, which is also one of the important stories. But it's just atrocious what Saudi Arabia is doing in Yemen, what they're doing in Syria. They're becoming cozier with Israel. And it's pretty much Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United States causing a lot of global chaos with a very fragile economic market on the brink of just totally breaking loose. And that's why these stories are so important, because a lot of times we think people are in control. There's a lot of things that are uncontrolled in this entire big political sphere, and they theater on the balance. And that's why it's more important to stay informed. That's why it's more important to share information that is helpful, and also prepare yourself and look towards solutions, which of course we're going to be rechanging everything we're doing, just primarily focusing on giving you a lot of that, again, through the newsletter and other stuff. But go ahead, Jason. Let's bring up Monday, and then let's get to the stories, and then take more comments from everyone.
Well, before we get to Monday, remember we're going to do this piece on Antifa and the Proud Boys. That was pretty much an ongoing saga this week, and in the in the very early part of the week, even the mainstream media, it wasn't just Fox News, but a lot of people, even CNN, had to come forward and say, well, Antifa is out of control in Portland. When they were bullying an elderly motorist woman in a wheelchair. Yes, this is the video. We could show you this one because nobody's getting punched in the face here.
What do you get when you cross a bunch of
I can't
angry...
stand Gutfield. How about you?
Portland's
we got
right
another
here.
comment by Avatas, who says, I feel bad for anyone who lives in Portland. What a liberal cesspool. I actually was in Portland, and I felt awful. Maybe it was because of the allergies. I don't know what it was. But the town is very, very strange. Wasn't a good vibe around there. And it probably was because there was major clashes between right-wingers and Antifa when that was happening. There was also tear gas sprayed. Didn't have a fun time in Portland. Didn't enjoy myself, but was there giving a very important live stream of all the action. But yeah, I agree with you, Avatas. It's a crap hole. Sorry, everyone from Portland. I don't like it there.
Wow, well, I've only been there once, and it's 11 years ago now, I think, so I'm not going to make that statement. I remember I had fun there. I actually enjoyed Portland a lot, but I wouldn't enjoy my car being attacked for no reason by a bunch of people in masks that want to parade around as leftists. I've got news for you, folks. If you're parading around in a mask, if you're in a little clown outfit, and you're not willing to show your face or have a conversation with your political adversary, you're not a protester. You're an idiot. And
well, their arguments there. See, again, we got to look at this from the different point of views here. We're also seeing strange statements from the Portland mayor. I think I read something that he's allowing Antifa to block streets and direct traffic.
Well, that's what that video
was. And there are videos of people just trying to drive by and people just hitting cars and being aggressive towards them. There's one guy being like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And another white guy who is Antifa is like, "You're a white supremacist." And I'm like, the guy's like, "I'm just telling you, I'm just asking you what's going on." And then the Antifa are like, "You're a white male. You're a white supremacist Nazi." And I'm like, the guy has the strangest look on his face. Doesn't look guilty of anything. Didn't say anything. And they're just holding him and kind of abusing their power. Now, that's one side of the story, and the side of the story that the leftists and the media are saying that I saw was that old man car tries to ram over protesters in Portland, but they didn't show you the video of what happened before. So the left-wing side of it has their narrative and their side, and a part of their side is that they're having protests and they're helping direct traffic so they could protest better and move the traffic along.
Well, you know what, Luke?
That's
bro,
their side. That's
don't touch my effing car. That's all I got. Hey, how about, who doesn't touch my car? The police officer that Luke already thinks is oppressive. All right? He doesn't touch my car. All right? So maybe
I don't want no police touching my car.
I don't want anybody touching my car but me and the people getting in with it with me. And this isn't about Antifa to me, okay?
Yeah. Well, I'm just breaking down the narrative here, Jason. I'm just breaking down the arguments that the left is making. The argument that the left is making this week is that the Proud Boys are attacking them. The Proud Boys are violent. That Gavin McInnes is running around with a sword, and the police are protecting them. That people are trying to run them over. That all they're doing is directing traffic, and we're seeing HuffPo, and we're seeing all the kind of leftist kind of papers and news organizations run with those narratives. Of course, on the right, we have a completely different narrative. And again, just like I keep saying, the truth is always somewhere in the middle. You want to describe the right-wing narrative that's going around right-wing circles?
Well, let's just go through the week because, days go by. We have that Portland incident. And then we can't show you this video, but this is in New York, and this is a headline out of the Washington Post. Political violence goes coast to coast as Proud Boys, Antifa activists clash in New York and Portland. Now, outside of Portland in New York, if you haven't seen this video, I believe there's a still shot of it in this next one right here where they posted to their Facebook. See, this is what I don't like. They beat some guys up on the sidewalk. Some dude and, some hip professor guy comes out with his jeans and his smoking jacket or whatever. He's a hip teacher guy, and he pulls the one guy off, and then the other guy's kicking the dude while he's down. And this is videos show alleged assault of protesters after event featuring Proud Boys founder. Now, I'll say this. I did not see what started the fight. I have yet to see...
Well, the right-wing circles, Jason, are saying that two Antifa tried to jump a Proud Boy. All the other Proud Boys came and then beat them up. And you saw the Proud Boys after kicking them when they're down. Some of them is saying, "Okay, he's down. Let's not kick him too much." On the left-wing circles,
let's not kick him too much. Well,
the left-wing circles are like they just attacked and beat this man. There was another incident where one individual was beat and robbed and sent to the hospital by Antifa after leaving that event. But that, of course, Huffington Post and all the liberal medias won't tell you. The right-wing media is not really covering the stomping on the ground. But what I saw fascinating was Antifa accounts tweeting, "Oh, look how violent and dangerous the Proud Boys are," and then I'm like, You're Antifa. You're glorifying and celebrating violence when your guys hit somebody, openly calling for more of it. And now you're trying to play the victim here? No, 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 no. That victim card is long gone. There's also photos of the Proud Boys, and there's like Asians and Spanish and black people there here in New York. And a lot of people are saying, white supremacist. I'm like, looking at the picture here, there's a lot of people of different races a part of the Proud Boys. It's not just white supremacists, which I find interesting. And then in Portland, there's a picture, and all of them are just white people. White people calling other white people white supremacists. And the brainwashing is strong here. Of course, both sides, to me, are asinine. Let's call the things out like we see them. But just the fact that that's happening is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely bonkers. To see people being called, white supremacists when they're Hispanic, Asian, or black, like we're a part of the Proud Boys in New York. So a lot of contradictions, a lot of bull crap. Each side is just vying for power and control. Each side will lie to you. And it's really up to you to not playing along with any of the bull crap and just look for things for what they are, which I'm trying to do here and call things out. Let's call a spade out like it should be called out.
Well, yeah, let's. And I want to be from the reality circle, not the left circle or the right circle. I'm not coming in from anywhere else. On one side, I'm gonna give some advice. I'm gonna give some advice over here to Antifa. Every single video I've ever watched where you guys swing at someone or hit someone, you'll lose the physical altercation. You've never won. Not one video is Antifa beating whoever you think the enemy is. So my advice to you would be stop physically attacking people. Now, on the other side of that, Proud Boys.
Yeah, that is kind of true. I haven't seen one video.
Not one.
I mean, the fights are never fair, though, because it's usually Antifa jumping somebody or the Proud Boys jumping someone. We saw a little bit of restraint, to be honest. It's still horrible. It's still wrong, stomping somebody on the ground. But we saw some of the Proud Boys actually stop that from escalating. It did happen. It is bad. But when Antifa gets at you, they beat you to very, very dangerous levels that could actually, let's just call it out here. They beat people a lot worse. When they got someone on the ground, they beat them with sticks and weapons and bike locks, and they take advantage of that situation on the ground more than anyone else. And that's a very dangerous situation. If you've ever been involved in street fights, most people get seriously injured or even die. A lot of people die from street fights, mainly because when they're on the ground and they get stomped. That is one of the most dangerous things that you could be in a physical altercation. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Let's run through the story and then take some questions.
Like the one guy with the lead pipe, he still got knocked out. Bike Lock Bob still did jail time. He wasn't winning.
No, I think he got probation.
Is that right?
Bike Lock guy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
he didn't even go
I think he only got probation.
But on the other side of it, Proud Boys, how about if you beat somebody up, and even if you're in the right, even if you got jumped the whole nine, I get maybe showing that part of the video, maybe you don't post the video of two of your guys kicking a man while he's on the ground. Okay, first, maybe you shouldn't kick him when he's on the ground. Anyway, I understand things get crazy. I'll admit I've done some questionable things in my past, especially in physical altercations. Things get crazy. You're not really thinking. But once again, how about we start talking to each other like human beings and stop letting the media make headlines on what are low-level, piss-poor street fights that are not backed by sound thinking political ideologies. Just my opinion.
Yeah, that won't happen. That won't happen, Jason. How about we just start small and just have shooting the fair? Like, why don't you just fight one-on-one fairly? In Portland, you could actually do this because they have what is it? Mutual laws where one person could fight another person. A police officer is there, and as long as both people agree to have a mutual combat, they could have a one-on-one combat. Let's have a tournament. Screw it. It'll be entertaining. It'll be fun. Let's actually have a one-on-one fight instead of all these people jumping in and ganging in. And it's difficult because of this gang mentality and all these punks out there. And mainly people do it because of the fear that they have inside themselves. But it's really something atrocious seeing all these people getting hit while they're down. That is the most cowardice thing you could do, is have a whole bunch of people just try to physically hurt somebody with a mob of people. That is just cowardly. That is just the actions of punks, and that's something that needs to be stopped. And I think some even Proud Boys recognize that, and they're like, yeah, chill out, man. Let's just stop stomping him out. And we haven't really seen that kind of restraint. I haven't seen it, at least. Prove me if I'm wrong, from the other side, because when they get you on the ground, they stomp, they beat you, they throw things until they're just in a frenzy. They're just in a rage. The rage is taking over, and it's kind of very epitifying of our political discourse, with rage just taking over, and major media institutions, whether they're right wing or left wing, highlight this story, won't tell you the fair story here, but they'll tell you a story that fits along their general political preconceived notions that they want to sell you, that they want you to be afraid of, that they, of course, want to manipulate the situation so you believe like them, painting the other guys as horrible people, never taking accountability for themselves. This is done on the right and this is done on the left, and it's stupid and asinine, and also increases the level of conflict that people have between each other, and it only makes the situation worse with more of these conflicts happening. Now, I think this is going to die down. I don't think there's going to be major escalations. I actually said there's going to be a few escalations. We saw some in New York. We saw some in Portland. I don't think this is going to erupt to a bigger case. But of course, these situations are also just big canisters of fuels waiting to light up, because all it takes is for one person to be stomped the wrong way during a major street fight. That person could die, and that could escalate to a whole bigger conflict than we could expect. So other than some freak accident like that, I don't see this kind of brewing or escalating to bigger things on the streets, but it is going to pick up in around June, I believe. And of course, it's only going to become a little bit more rampant during the election season. But after this local election, I don't see it really escalating, to be completely fair and honest with you.
Well, I guess we're going to see what happens, but again, I think it's window dressing. It's not really America. It's more of a divide that they try to promote on the media, to try to promote things like the second civil war and we have to stop Trump, and just the fact, again, like the Patriot Prayer group was associated with white supremacists and Nazi groups. It's not to say that those people aren't out there, but they're certainly not prevalent. And they're certainly not prevalent in the political voice of this country and how most people think. Most of us don't give a flying F about race. That's just my opinion, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't give a damn about politics, even. Not just about race, but most of the people in the United States don't even vote. So most of the people are just trying to get by and survive and live a good life. That is the truth of it. How many people voted for the president of the United States? What was it, like 25%? That's a very, very low number. Of course, I'm doing a very rough estimate here, not the exact number, but majority of the people don't give a damn about this. But the media does, and the media is trying to get more people engaged in this fight, because that is leading to more sensational stories. And this hyper-sensationalism media landscape that we are in is ultimately just providing a big brain tumor and brain cancer to everyone. And it's just sad, to be completely honest with you, that we have come to a point where you just need to jump people like a bunch of little punks. And I've been involved in a bunch of street fights. My nose is still crooked for some. I got some missing teeth from some when I was younger, when I was a teenager. And I always despised, and always... And because I was affected by it a number of times, getting stomped out or getting jumped by a large number of people. It happened to me a number of times. Almost lost my life a couple of times. Still got welts and scars and horrible things all around my head. But it's really, it just shows you how crappy people could be and how out of control their emotional state could be built up to. And back then, it was neighborhoods. Me and my friends were in one neighborhood. Another neighborhood was challenging the neighborhood, and that's what happened. But in today's day and age, what we're seeing is the media set these lines, become more of bad actors in this political playing field, become more just outright liars, outright manipulators of the situation, and they're trying to escalate it as much as they can because they want power. They want their side to win, whether it's left or right. To me, it's all wrong. And to me, it's fair to call this story like it is. And of course, some people are not going to like it, but that's why we're here. That's why we want to do an honest and fair job. It's not always click worthy. It's not always filled with click tits, with clickbait that everyone always wants to see, because normally human beings just want to hear their own opinion regurgitated to them. And when someone comes in and says, well, this is true and this is bullcrap on this side, and this is true and this is bullcrap on that side, it triggers a whole bunch of people. And actually hearing an opinion that is against your preconceived notions actually even triggers the fight or flight brain chemicals in your brain and makes people uncomfortable. But I think we need to feel a little bit uncomfortable with the information we consume. I think we need more of an open mind, more than ever, to avoid the fallacies in our society that this side is completely, utterly wrong and will jump you and kill you and hurt you if they get power. Because ultimately, they're all going to end up in the same way. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's why it's important to let go of that bullcrap and really just discern things yourself, be open to new information, have an open mind, but not play into some of the emotional escalations that the mainstream media is trying to push on you.
Sounds good to me, Luke. You want to move on to that Monday story?
Oh, man, do we have to do I think we already did a lot, Jason. I think we should get to some comments.
There's some good ones. We really shouldn't skip this story.
Okay. If you want to go over them as quickly as you can, and I'll add my 2 cents. So this is Monday's story?
Yeah, Monday's story is a big one. Don Jr. meets with Israeli PsyOps firm called Psy Group with a man named Joel Zamel. And this is basically what they've tried to say the Russians did. Every single thing, except for you don't hear about it in the mainstream media, and it is actually real. And it is literally a codenamed dossier on Hillary Clinton. They were codenaming her Forrest, and they were codenaming Donald Trump Lion. And they built a dossier on Clinton, created fake social media profiles, and this, Luke, isn't imagination land, something that's easily proven, and it shows the double standard that Israel can do whatever they like regarding our elections, and you will almost certainly never hear about it, yet Russia does not get involved in our elections any more than any other major superpower, and it's being framed to the American people and the world through media manipulation that Vladimir Putin has Donald Trump on puppet strings and got him elected. Pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, we can't talk about Israel, Jason. You didn't get the memo from the mainstream media and the social controllers? It's absolutely ridiculous. A very important story that, of course, we're seeing highlighted by the Daily Mail, but nowhere in the mainstream media, and they're still looking for Russian collusion. Well, there's a lot of evidence pointing to direct Israeli collusion. That's something that people never bring up. When Michael Flynn went down, he went down for what was essentially Israeli collusion. They got him on a technicality. Jared Kushner reached out to Michael Flynn before Donald Trump sat in the presidential seat and said, we need to lobby all the countries to vote in favor of Israel in the United Nations. Michael Flynn got on the phone, contacted countries on the UN Security Council, including Russia, and was like, hey, guys, we need you to do our bidding for Russia and vote in favor. Our bidding for Israel. You need to vote in favor of Israel, trying to motivate them, trying to negotiate with them. And that's what they got Michael Flynn on. That's what they got him on. Israeli collusion, clear out, cut with Netanyahu with a direct line to Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner making all the calls. He's not in trouble. No one's talking about Israel. And this is a big story that kind of highlights, there's a lot more to Israeli collusion than there is to Russian collusion. Go on, Jason. Let's go on with other stories.
Yes, so the next story, also incredible. You barely heard about this one in the mainstream media. 123 missing kids recovered in one day in Michigan during one of their operations. Let me repeat that. 123 missing children recovered in a day. And this was out of 301 case files. All right. Now, I read all around from the mainstream media, and the mainstream media would only admit that out of the 123 cases, that 3 of them were child sex trafficking, at least confirming those. But you have to believe that the vast majority of them have to do with not only runaways, but children that have been trafficked in sex. And this was just incredible. 123, one state, one day. Can you imagine being on that police force where you're during that operation, you go to work that day and you go, all right, here we go. And you pull out 123 minors, Luke. That's pretty incredible.
That's a lot of people, and I really want to find out the details of this case, whether it was custody cases or whether it was something more sinister and more dark. But this is a big, big story. A lot of children, 123
well,
children.
Well, it was aimed at sex
state,
trafficking. It was. I mean, if you look at the second paragraph.
All of them were
well, it was Operation Miss Safe Kid. Like I said, this was a large operation. There were 301 case files, and they found 123 of these missing children. Now, this is a local Fox story, so it is actually admitting that this was based around the possible sex trafficking of teenagers, homeless teenagers, runaways, and all that. But when you went to the mainstream media ones, even something like the Daily Mail, they would only tell you that 3 of the cases were actually confirmed to be sex trafficking cases. Now, that may be semantics, that may be true, but the bottom line is this was a massive operation, and you know you have a pandemic of this type of thing in this country when you can go to Michigan in one day and recover that many children, Luke. And again, did you hear about this anywhere?
Imagine what it's like in Washington, D.C. or Virginia. That number probably is a lot higher than just 123.
Absolutely. So that was something we definitely had to feature on. That was part of the Portland story I went over earlier. So we have a upstate.
That was, Wednesday's story we already covered, and we gave a long monologue about that, and then now we have Thursday's story.
Yeah. So actually, it's a town not that far away from me, Shodak, New York, suburb of Albany. We don't want your Amazon Unlimited store. We don't want it. Get it out of here. They're really pushing for this, and the people don't want it. And you know what's crazy about this story, Luke? You're seeing it around my local media, and then you're not seeing it anywhere else, that the entire town of 13,000 people has no desire for Amazon to move in and take over their town. And where am I reading this article out of? Europe. I'm reading this article out of The Guardian. Why am I reading?
Meanwhile, the politicians in the United States are in whatever local district or counties are begging Amazon to come in there for their jobs. We need jobs. We need a better economic system. And they're giving them tax incentives. They're giving Amazon what they want, begging them to set up shop in their towns. But people need to understand the jobs include a description of people peeing in bottles because of how overworked they are, with how much little they're paid. I did a whole story about their recent scam that was called the minimum wage hike, which is all bullcrap, by the way. It was a big PR move that actually saved Amazon money. But we have to understand here, all the jobs that Amazon has, they're crappy little jobs, and they're all going to be replaced with automation and robotics, which no one is even talking about. Jason, go on. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I just think it's crazy, man. Again, you have a town of 13,000 people. People have had these farms. A lot of people think of New York, Luke, and they think of your neck of the woods. They think everything's the city. I've got news for people. If my thumb were the city, New York City is about like this, little much. And we got a lot of trees. Even when you're coming into New York City, you're less than 20 minutes away. You're in that Jersey Turnpike. You know what there is? There's trees, there's grass, there's farmland. And the farmers here know that have had these family farms for generations. Amazon comes in, that's it for them. They're going to take their farms one way or another. The taxes will go up. They won't be able to pay on them. The government will step in, take their stuff. That's how things work here in upstate New York. So I am standing with my brothers at Shodak and saying, F you, Amazon, stay the hell out of my state.
Of course, Jason, you would stand with your brothers from Shodak. Makes a lot of sense. That's a statement that I would expect coming out from you. We're seeing a lot of interesting talk about 5G in the comment section. Just so you guys know, we did a lot of content about 5G on our YouTube channel this week. Just go check out what we did. We did a very long interview with Max Egan that was very interesting. 5G is a lot to look into and a lot to be concerned about. We got another super chat by Do They Know Thy Way? And he is saying that Q sent me. QAnon is sending.
Is he making a comeback? Is everybody getting arrested? Luke, the indictments, they're here.
Are you talking
I talked to him yesterday. Listen, Luke, I'm going to give you some insider information. All right.
Now, I went public, and I did something naughty, Luke, and I said that I had talked to QAnon. That night, I had 9 Green Berets at my front door, knocking. And they told me that I need to get on a secure line immediately and talk to the Q group, which I did. Afterwards, I was forced to denounce him, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now, shiz hit the fan. I was completely deplatformed, and now the Q group is not only investigating, but infiltrating the homes of these demons, these Robert Mueller-esque demons, and they're going down. They're going down to Chinatown, and I will sit at the right hand of Trump and the Lord Jesus Christmas, and we will rejoice in the Republic's greatness, because the answer to 1984 is 1776.
1995 plus shipping and handling, you mean?
Oh, that was a lot, man. That one hurt my throat.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I enjoyed that one. You forgot the secret indictments there, though.
Yeah, well, they're coming.
You forgot. Yeah, you forgot about Podesta and Hillary going down finally.
Oh, yeah, they're going down.
They're going down, man. I'm telling you.
Listen,
they're going down.
We're having fun.
You don't believe the riddles? You don't believe the riddles, Jason? How dare you make fun of the riddles? Put on a LARPing 4chan member post that are supposed to be secret intelligence officers giving out code words about what's really happening. That's how absurd we are in our society. That's how much hope. That's how much hope and the destruction of reality that we're dealing with. We're people's only bastion of being saved, because people don't want to take self-responsibility, are rhythms and poems on 4chan or 8chan about QAnon. Man.
All right, so listen, we should get into this real news, because hey,
yeah,
by the way, thank you,
over.
brother. I don't want to make fun too hard, but I'm just saying we're beyond that. I mean, we should be beyond that. There's been so many, all these proofs and stuff. How about all the deproofs? No one's gone to jail. John McCain was not executed. John F. Kennedy Jr. is not alive. We have big things to focus on, and one of those big things, Luke, is the fact that we had a huge victory just a couple months ago with a $289 million, actually $400+ million when you looked at everything, verdict against Monsanto. Well, guess what? Money greases the wheels of justice, and a judge has just ruled that there will be a new trial, just as I thought. The appeal has gone through, and now Dwayne Lee Johnson, a man who has lesions all over his whole body, who has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, who may not live to see the next trial, must be forced into the court process again.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. Of course, Monsanto is going to raise appeals to this. It's a major, major case. And I wouldn't be surprised if, of course, they're going to do everything underhanded they possibly can to get away with this and not have any responsibility to all the horrible poison that they have spread out there. Of course, all with the help of the federal government, which, of course, Monsanto CEOs are heads of major government agencies that are supposed to look them over, and it's just a big revolving door between the two. Yeah, let's get it to Friday and Saturday.
You got it. So, Assange is still doing his thing. WikiLeaks still doing their thing. They just published a crazy document, a very highly confidential Amazon document that basically goes into their secrecy, their hidden information centers, their hubs, where they're doing business. His $600 million contract, Luke, with who? The Central Intelligence Agency. And remember, this is the guy that now owns the Washington Post. So this document, I mean, if WikiLeaks can get it, just think about anybody else who can get it, shows the actual physical locations of these data centers, amongst other things. And you know where you heard this? Almost nowhere. Almost nowhere. Again, we got time to talk about the mushroom penis man, and we've got time to talk about a 42-year-old washed up porn star. No problemo. We got time to talk about Poot Poot and how he's scaring everybody. We don't have time to talk about Amazon and their data centers of oppression, Luke. That's a no-no.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. CNN is an absolute sham of a news organization, and they are just total, absolute trash and have no dignity at all. I'm not a Kanye West fan. We don't support Kanye West. We think what he's doing is a big stunt here. And they're going off talking about his mother rolling around in the grave because he disagrees with politically what they believe. And it's just utter lunacy on all sides here, with just utter bullcrap that's destroying this country and creating brain cancer on the minds of American citizens. That's ultimately what's happening here. And great points that you made about what is allowed to be talked about and promoted on social media, given to you, and what is denied and what you're not supposed to know about. Which, again, this is why the email list is more important than ever, because that's the only real way that we could actually get this information out to you. And it's going to be one of the only ways very soon. All right, the last story that we have.
Yes.
Yeah, this one takes the cake here.
I knew you were gonna love this one. I knew you were gonna love this one, and it's hard
I
not
heard people
to.
talking about it before.
But you know what, man? This just shows how freaking crazy people are and what this society is willing to accept. That's right, folks. He's a gay man living as a transgender man, that identifies as a dog, and there he is in his little harness and mask.
Misidentified him. You misidentified him, Jason. Totally misidentified. You may go to jail for that. They have a law in New York. If you misgender someone, you go to jail.
There he is. He's got the.
You called them. So I just misgendered them. Damn it. Damn it. Those word games that they play are very hard. You may not call a gay man because they do not identify as a gay man, Jason.
It's weird because his partner's a gay man.
Just like I did. Just like I just did now and before. That's literally the criteria of what sends you to jail now in the United Kingdom. I saw it firsthand. I actually interviewed someone in the United Kingdom randomly in the streets who was arrested for making a similar comment like I just did. Absolutely insane. And the law's in New York. Sorry, go ahead with this absolutely glorified story that is everywhere.
I mean, just take a look at this Halloween costumed freak show. And I'm supposed to sit here and placate to this like it's normal. I got news for you, folks. Oh my God, the video is
more ridiculous than I thought.
No, it's over the top.
It has a tail and it's waggling. Its butt.
This is the first time you've actually looked at this, Luke. This one
I
played big on the Facebook page.
I'm like, I have enough nonsense to deal with. I don't need to deal with this lunacy. Dude, are you playing the video of the tail wagging?
I already put it up there, like the repeat video up here.
It's on repeat. This is disturbing.
Yeah, the tail wags. It's like a little latex tail. And look, what's even more disturbing, let's scroll through the pictures. It's lying on his boyfriend like a dog. like my dog lies on my lap. And here he is petting it and playing it up. I mean, this is just, come on, man. This is beyond Halloween. And, I guess I'll just, there he is. There's his little mask.
Where does it go to the bathroom? That's the real question.
He's showing the tongue.
The first hood that I ever got.
Yeah, there's a tongue thing, but where does it go to the bathroom?
Involved in
I would imagine
my
on a
entire
toilet.
life.
At least I would
A lot
hope
of
so.
kids like to play pretend. They like to pretend to be
You're
an
breaking
animal,
up there. Can you
and
still
they
hear
enjoy
me?
doing
Oh,
it.
so wait a minute. All right, so I guess I'm sorry. I'm still there. I didn't realize this because I'd only read through it and not seen the whole video, only the clips. So it's actually a woman in that outfit who identifies as a man who identifies as a dog.
Oh,
play
you're
it.
definitely
So
getting,
we
you're
were
definitely
all
getting
wrong.
in trouble for
Here
that
she
major
is.
misgendering.
Pet plays anytime.
Let's mute it so we can just have it running on the side here. But here she is. This is a woman.
Disturbing. I don't want that running by the side by my face.
I feel like we could release this as our own video. Yeah, I'm triggered. All right, I see this one. I will be brave. I'm going to. Yes, I'm gay. I'm admitting it now, and I'm going to be brave. And then not only am I a gay man, but I'm a gay man that wants to identify as a transgendered woman who wants to identify as a dog.
It gave me a headache. I'm confused.
Listen, let's let this play out as we read some of these super chats in its lunacy, because I see that Jesse Schmidt has made his way back. And Jesse, again, we can't thank you so more. Jesse is one of our biggest supporters out there, folks, and thank you so much. Andrew
The dog
McMillan.
has a tongue. The dog has a tongue that comes out.
Yeah, it sure does. See, there she is at Halloween. That makes sense. That's where she probably got the idea. or he. I don't want to. I guess I don't want to.
You're misgendering again, Jason.
I guess so. So Jesse Smith says, I'm glad I made it back for the Alex Jones. I'm glad you made it back for the Alex Jones as well, Jesse. Hopefully you heard our Chael and Fedor rant as well earlier. Andrew McMillan gives $2.
They have dogs too. The couple has dogs. The dogs must be confused as fuck.
Can you imagine? Let's be honest. The
what goes
guy
through the mind of the dogs in the house?
Listen, the guy that doesn't dress up, he's the alpha of this situation. What is going on in his head?
Well, maybe not. If she identifies itself as a gay man, maybe he's not the alpha.
I think that he's got to be the alpha.
No. I'm looking at his face. His face doesn't say alpha.
That poor dog.
His face doesn't say alpha.
Whose face does say alpha? It's not like they have any big dogs. They're all small little furry dogs. All right, so let's keep.
You can see if someone's like an alpha with their mannerisms and how they behave and how they act and just their, just their energy. Yeah, he does not seem like an alpha. He's like sitting like this.
Is he driving or not? I missed it.
Huh?
Was he driving or not? She drove.
I'm playing the video now and I'm having the sound off, but he's definitely not an alpha. He's like, yeah. No, that's definitely not the body language.
I mean, maybe in that situation. So let's read through some more of these super chats. Jesse Schmidt, how much truth?
I don't think there's an alpha in the house. I think maybe the dogs are running the house. That could be also one possibility. But hey, they could be great people. They could be. They could be. They could be very, very. What if they're very nice, wonderful people, and we're just being mean to how they want to live their life?
Yeah, I'm being real mean. What? If the friend is now playing into it?
Dog playovers?
I gotta, yeah, she did. I can't do it. How much truth do you think there is to Roundup being used on wheat as a desiccant, and the increase in celiac disease symptoms? I think it's very real. The evidence that was presented in this case were internal emails that suggested just that not only was it cancerous, but they knew it was cancerous. And we do have the CDC copying to the fact that it is more than likely carcinogenic. So, again, I don't think this guy's making it up. I don't think he got cancer from something else. I think it was his exposure to Roundup, and I think that the jury made the right decision. You have any other thoughts on that, Luke?
It's walking on all fours and having a play date that they're bringing them over to another play.
Woman. Yeah.
And there's a leash.
Yeah.
And sorry.
No, that's fine.
I mean, each his own. Like, let them do whatever they want in private. But the fact that they're kind of glorifying this in the media and they're trying to push this socially, that's where I kind of draw the line a little bit here. But like, whatever you want to do on your own in private time, you're free to do it. But it's kind of disturbing to see the media promote this and make it a trend, and even try to go after people who try to make jokes about this or disagree with it. Because like, that's ultimately what's happening here. And if you're going to be doing like this, if you're going to be doing stuff like this, like, people want to be critical of it, let them be critical of it. It's not, that's the same right we have as you have a right to dress up yourself as a dog. That's where I think the discussions. There's a little mouth thing in there that she has on her mask that allows her to. Sorry, go ahead with the rest remaining super chats.
No, let's do it. Let's see. So a couple more by Jesse Schmidt. Cuomo had the trans man dog arrested for not paying the dog tax charged as a dog license. And he asked the question, Jesse, again, thank you so much. Is a dog owning a dog considered slavery? Yuck, 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 yuck. I don't believe so. But I don't know. What do you think? Dog on dog ownership, slavery, Luke?
I have like a little dog, a little Shih Tzu. I think it's a Shih Tzu. And then I have a pit bull. The Shih Tzu like freaking runs the house and like bullies the pit bull. I don't understand what's going on there. Looks are always deceiving. This is weird. I don't know what to say about this. I'm just so confused. Yeah, this is happening. Yeah. So I got nothing to say, Jason. I'm sorry.
Nope. You know what?
There's no commentary. What can you say about this? What could possibly be said about this?
That it's only going to get more obscene from here. That Trevor Moore.
What's the next thing? What's the next thing that we're going to see?
Like I said, Trevor Moore, who is one of my favorite comedians. He has a great album out there. He's one of the singles. is When the Bullies Go Away, and it gets right into this topic from the get-go. It's an amazing video. He's also done great stuff like Kitty History, where he tells you the truth about the JFK assassination and 9/11. He has a plethora of My Computer Just Became Self-Aware. Talks about the singularity, DMT, even the Anunnaki. I may not agree with all of it, but it's good stuff.
Is it one special that he just talked about all of this with?
He's got 2 of them from Comedy Central. But yeah, if you haven't seen
Definitely,
this stuff...
No, I haven't seen them. Send me his name and where I can find it. It's on Netflix, right?
No, they were Comedy Central exclusives. So you'd have to find them either on Comedy Central's site. They stream some of the little bits and pieces of it, or you have to get the albums. But the actual videos that go with the albums, Bring Back the Guillotines is absolutely amazing, where he has a literal girl call for the president's head in a guillotine. And with Elvis Costello playing the guitar. So, guys, if you want some really good political comedy, Trevor Moore is it. Jesse Schmidt asks one more super chat. Do you have to pick up trans dog poo if it scats on San Francisco city streets? Probably not, since San Francisco is the scat capital of the planet, apparently. If you go to those weird poo maps, apparently it's out of control in San Francisco. Folks, I just want to remind everybody that we have a backup
expanding. And the poop's expanding. It's like you see the poop maps that are rising every single year. It's one of the places in the United States where you have the most richest people and the poorest people. And I remember being in San Francisco. There's crazy homeless people running around everywhere. A lot of them because of mental problems. And it's just surreal to see this like clash of super poor and super rich just living on top of each other. Very confusing dichotomy, to say the least.
It is. It certainly is. So once again, we've got a backup channel. It's called Pulse Change. I only did one video on it this week, but I think it was about a half an hour long. So every once in a while, I'm able to jump on there, go over some of the topics we're not able to do on this show every single week at 7 p.m. Please hit the notification bell on this channel, on that channel. Share our stuff on social media, and please sign up for the email list. We're going to be emailing you direct stories, and of course, we're going to be having a paid newsletter for exclusive content for our patron subscribers and members. Anything else, Luke?
No, I have to take a flight in a little bit. I have a red eye. So we have to end it soon. We got one more super chat by No More News. And he says, do you think AJ is a Zio shill? You see my debate with Owen. No, I did not see any kind of debate. Whether I think Alex Jones is a Zio shill, I think you're talking about Zionist. Well, it is kind of weird to see Alex Jones be very critical of all governments, talk about personal liberty a few years ago, to now being like, yeah, Israel's great. Yeah, Donald Trump's great. Yeah, we need more government. Yeah, we need more martial law. So this is something that we've been very critical of AJ on, because it's a big transition that Alex Jones made from where he came from to where he is now, promoting governments, promoting states, promoting authority, promoting the use of force against people, and promoting Israel, which, again, as soon as Donald Trump announced his support and full support of Israel, AJ just pretty much is like, yeah, whatever Donald Trump likes. And it pretty much looks like it with him kind of regurgitating that. And here we kind of tried to stay true to ourselves, and that's why we criticize all governments, whether it's the Israeli government, the Saudi government, the Turkish government, the Russian government, the U.S. government, the Japanese government, the Chinese government. We don't care. I at least come from a personal standpoint of individual sovereignty, individual liberty, and people taking responsibility of their own lives and acting in accordance to their own virtues and principles. I don't believe in any kind of authority over anybody else. I know, Jason, you do. We disagree and have different debates. You're kind of more of a libertarian. I kind of lean towards more self-responsibility, more you trying to fix yourself and being the best version of yourself, so you don't need someone taking anything from you or ordering you around. So that's my own personal point of view. I might have made very mass generalizations about that, Jason, but just kind of wanted to make that clear on the specific subject. But unless you want to rebuttal or clarify anything, Jason?
I wouldn't call him a Zionist shill. I would call him pro-Israel at this point, which I guess if you want to, you could call him a Zionist. I don't think he works for Israel at all. If you see how much, like you just talked about, he's flipped politically after beginning to back Trump and ride that popularity train. I think it was good for business. I
It is good for business, yeah.
Yeah, well, it is. Listen,
For
I'll
him
just
and
be
his
honest with you.
audience, the base who he caters to.
Well, again, I haven't talked to Alex personally in years. I can tell you when I was there, no, there were no Zionists that were in the office controlling things, and we weren't getting memos on how to cover for Israel or what not to talk about or any of that nonsense. I would say that he has shifted towards the pro Roger Stone stance. Since Roger Stone has stepped into there, all of a sudden we can call for martial law. We can claim that Obama already has us under martial law and he has all these magical powers that he never had, and that's not questioned. It's not questioned when, he backs off the night after cursing Trump out for the Syrian strikes. No one questioned it at all.
And then deleted it.
Yeah, and then deleted it. No one questions that. And look, we covered here tonight Donald Trump Jr. working with Israeli intelligence firms, the Psy Group, to garner a dossier on Hillary, all those things. You aren't going to hear that on InfoWars. And one of the big problems with this administration, in my opinion, has been their foreign policy, has been their pro-war, pro-Israeli, pro-Saudi Arabian stance that I've never been promoted for. And I just want to say this. When Luke and I put out a video because Trump actually did something good, or we may agree with one point, that video gets a much higher like to dislike ratio than if you are critical of Trump. So I can see where Jones moved his business model towards a more mainline conservative stance. Because again, all that I ever hear to come out of that camp now is conservatives are being censored. Conservatives are being censored. No. Independent voices are being censored, and it doesn't matter whether conservative or not if they're anti-war and anti-establishment. Yeah. That's my.
And that's a decision and a conversation me and you had, being like, okay, like our numbers are going down, the algorithm is kicking our ass, and let's see what videos are doing good. And me and you were both like, yeah, all the stuff that is favorable to Donald Trump is doing way better. Do we change anything?
No.
And I'm like, we speak the truth. We
literally talked about that. I want to let people know.
Yeah.
We said, this is doing well. And we both said to each other, we go, look, man, Luke said to me and I said to him, I was like, I don't want to start just being pro-Trump. I go, I can't. And he goes, I can't either. I'm like, good. I'm glad we agree on that. We call it like we see it. We cater to no man, no belief, no dollar sign, no ideology other than what I believe is right and wrong. And I think he does the same. And that's why we butt heads here quite a bit. I'd say we butt heads more than any other show of this nature. This isn't the War Room or, what's David? The Real News, where if the big boss says something, you better nod along. Let's nod along. This isn't that show, and I don't think
Conor McGregor all the way, Khabib down.
Jesse Schmidt, one more, I guess, for the road. The No More News guy has a bit about Trump getting bailed out by the Rothschilds for $1 billion in the 90s. Can you do a story about that, if true? I have heard about that he was one of the people, or they were one of the organizations to bail Trump out during his multiple bankruptcies. I'd have to look into it.
Which group is that specifically?
He's saying it's the Rothschilds, so I'd have to look at.
We'll do the research on that.
I wouldn't doubt it at all, by the way. Again, Kushner has been in bed with these guys forever. Ivanka loves Israel.
And Netanyahu has been in Kushner's bed.
Yes.
Literally. Not an exaggeration.
And you know what? Here we go. Jesse Schmidt, this is more along the lines of what I agree with. I don't think Alex is Io Shill. He just capitalized on catering to the Fox News market as people turned off the TV. Very insightful, Jesse. Again, thank you so much for the super chats. Luke, you want to wrap it up?
Yes, I got a flight. I got to go soon. I'm tired and I'm hungry and I still got to pack and do a million other things, and we're busting our butts here. Just know that. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, with all your super chats, with all your participation, with helping us move away from, of course, the tech monopoly control grid system that is trying to eviscerate and destroy any kind of independent critical thinking and small mom and pop organizations that are trying to thrive and survive in this horrible day and age where more and more voices are being silenced. So yet again, I'm sending off another link to the email list. Definitely that is going to be the only way to really talk to us and reach out to us. I'm sending it off in the comment section right now. I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for a lot more.